Hello, I'm Dr. David Rosensweet, and you're in our second hour of I Wonder Doctor Live. And in this hour, we like to look at issues that relate to stress, because in medicine, one of the primary causes of people losing their health and their energy and their vitality, etc., is from an inappropriate, excessive reaction to the stress in their life. And if you have a question that relates to life or stress or how you're responding to it, please call us at 888-502-8886, because I love to work with your individual situations on the air. Now, I want to tell you a story of Kim and I, where we were on an actual cruise several years ago, and we were about 3 days into it, and it was just ocean all around us. And oh my goodness, to be able to relax and not have to do anything for 3 days was so nurturing to the two of us. We were sitting on a deck on a beautiful day, and the horizon was all about the ocean. And then into the horizon comes another cruise ship. And we're looking at it, and it looks like it's gaining on us. And I just thought it was interesting in my line of sight. And Kim said, "Look at that. We're in a race with the other cruise ship." And I went, no, no, we're not in a race with the other cruise ship. These folks don't race. And she said, no, yeah, yes they do. I mean, it's obvious. That ship is catching up with us, and we're in a race with it. And I tightened up a little more because I didn't think that was right. And not that I had to tighten up, but I did. And I went, no, I mean, you know, we're not in a race with a cruise ship. And to shorten the story a little bit, I got tighter and tighter, and it went back and forth as a discussion. And oh my goodness, in a few moments I was plenty upset, and then I saw it. I felt myself. I saw what I was doing, and I said to myself, come on, man, is this really worth doing? And I put on the brakes, and I just did what I do when I'm uncomfortable, which is I tell myself the truth about what's actually going on in me, instead of having all my attention on what was going on in her, or the need to be right. And I just paused and said, I'm so sorry I got upset, honey. Over what? And she laughed, and she said, I was just joking with you. And that really blew my cool, in the sense that I was able to laugh at that point because I had gotten into a story in my own head about needing to be right, and tightened up, and I let go. And these micro moments in all of our days and in our life, they're so significant, because over the course of our lifetime, we can, by various ways, choose how we're going to respond to an uncomfortable feeling in ourself, and how we're going to respond to the people who are in our life. And can you imagine the power of being able to be beneficial and not get uptight, and how that would affect? Well, let's start with the people that are in your life, because they would certainly benefit, and you would certainly benefit. And sometimes it's as simple as recognizing the truth of what's going on in the moment and deciding no. And you're able to turn the course of how you're responding to the stresses in our life. So, you all have this understudy. We're all students of how to live more effectively and be happier. And it's these micro things that happen throughout the day that make the difference. Like in the old days, I could have gotten so upset that I could have ruined our next meal. And that could have gotten Kim so upset, even though she was only joking, that I could have just ruined the whole evening, or ruined a couple days, or, you know, when I was much younger, I could ruin a week just by getting uptight and staying uptight. So moral of the story, many of you know this one, is when you find yourself on the rise, take it into up close and personal. What's going on in me? And part of what I Wonder Doctor is about is mentioning a couple skills, and that's one of them, the power of choice in that moment. And sometimes you got to sit there because the momentum in the direction of making it rough is just taken off, and it's almost like reining in a wild horse. And you do that, and you build that muscle of reining that in, and taking ownership. Really what it is taking responsibility. And as some people have said, instead of focusing on the splinter in someone else's eye, pay attention to the telephone pole in my own eye. Because really, what we are most responsive to is what's going on in our own self. And at the deepest parts of ourselves, we're happy. We're having fun. Life is beautiful and joyful. That's the real self. We feel peace and love and joy at the deepest parts of ourselves. When people talk about heart and soul, that's the energy of our heart and soul, peace and joy. But when we drift into other kinds of responses to people and things, worry about the future, fear of the past, upset about the past, oh my God, we can go on these journeys inside of our mind that lead to messy situations in our life. You all, I'm sure most of you know exactly what I'm talking about. So part of living better and part of being in this university of life that we're in is get skillful at these little things. You never have to go to India to get a guru, because as you're exactly how your own life is unfolding is the exact perfect university for you to have a great life and also learn as for those things that will make your life even much better. So, I'm looking to see if anyone's calling, not quite yet. So, I'm going to at least begin a story about my niece, who is just an amazing, empowered, hello there. There is a call, so let me take that call. Hello, this is Dr. Rosensweet.
Hi, this is Julie.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for calling. What's up?
So, my question is about codependency and anxiety. And I am 7 months pregnant, so everything in my life feels very amplified by changes in hormones, and I'm noticing I've had an increase in my states of anxiety and connected to maybe a codependent relationship I'm in. And so I'm curious how to move through that and actually get results, because I've been having some struggles.
All right. First, just a comment about the amplification. I think the primary amplification actually comes down to life changes. Pregnant, child coming, everything matters times about 1,000,000 that it did.
Yeah.
I mean, life matters, but boy. So yes, the hormones and the biochemistry can amplify it, but I think it's a very natural process for things to matter so much that that's part of the amplification. Tell me about the anxiety. Tell me about it. When does it come? When does it come? For example, can you give me an example of when you did get anxious?
Well, it's been kind of daily, and it's been affecting my life so much that I won't go and do things. It's affecting my social life. I won't want to go to yoga or somewhere public because I'll feel so constantly overwhelmed and like scattered and shaky.
Well, here's a radical initial opinion about that anxiety. What if it's okay? What if it's appropriate? What if it's normal? Could that possibly be true? And one thing about pregnancy is it's so profound that it opens us up, and I bet you can vouch for that.
Yeah.
And we get this surprise when we open, that everything comes out. We're opening up our heart and our soul, and for an event and an ongoing life that is going to be so different. And one of the ways it's going to be different is in the power of the love. Mother's love. I think it's one of the most profound things I've ever witnessed on this planet. It's so deep. And we open up, and that's one of the things we're being opened for, and the receiving of a new being. Yet the funny thing about opening is everything opens up. So if in our early life, when we had uncomfortable feelings and there was situations that we didn't know what to do, sometimes we just repress it and we don't deal with it, and we put on a happy face, or we put on a survival face, or we just cope with it all. Well, what happens is there is no such thing as successful pretending when it comes to uncomfortable feelings. We can do this mechanism called repressing them, but my gosh, they don't disappear. They don't float off into the universe and disappear forever. No, they go into our body, they go into our emotions, they go into our mind. And then, these are big things. And, we've done it for years and years, and sometimes, most people have, and then all of a sudden, through one event or another, and I sure had my event in my early 30s, where the lid comes off and there's all this uncomfortable feelings that you never really knew were there. Is this a possible thing going on with you?
Yeah, I think with my relationship, I'm finally gaining the awareness through what you're talking about, the repression of certain memories, because I don't remember very many things before I was 12, but there's a few that are coming out with these intense energies and, yeah, the anxiety that I'm connecting this to, and I'm realizing, you know, even to this day, my mom, my dad, and me still have a very codependent relationship that I'm just now becoming aware of. Like, no one's really okay. There's always some drama, and then no one's okay if you're not talking, you know, boundaries aren't okay, and I'm just kind of recognizing all of this now. This might be really obvious to, you know, people that have known me.
Well, let's pause on one of those. Like, is there any specific memory that is a good representative of the kind of things that you're uncovering that you weren't totally conscious of before, especially one that might have some significant anxiety associated with it?
Yeah, so I have only two memories I really remember from like 4 and under, and the two that come back are, one of them that my dad is leaving the house in a fight to go stay somewhere else. They never got divorced, but he was leaving very intensely, and I was literally like holding onto his leg, like dragging on the floor, like, don't leave, I want to go with you. And he was like, no, like, you know, like, you can't, like, he just had to get out of the house and go away for a few days. So that's a really intense one that comes up. And then another one is that I was really scared in my own room when I was like 2, and I had all these energies in the room, and I remember like I would sleep with the light on, and I had to like run to my parents' room, which was really far away, and so I would have to like get a lot of 2-year-old courage to run across the dark house and all these windows, and I would run to their room, and I wouldn't even go and knock on the door. I would just curl up in a ball and sleep outside the door, and then go back to my room before the sun came up.
My.
So they actually don't, yeah, they don't really know about that, and I don't actually even know why I wouldn't, as a 2-year-old, want to knock on the door and go into their room.
Well, let's follow that one. Imagine yourself curled up outside that door, and use your imagination to see how you can take yourself back into that memory, both memories actually, your dad leaving, angrily upset, leaving, and then being so uncomfortable in the night, so frightened, and there you are, you run to your parents' door, but you don't open the door, you're curled upside. When you think about that, try and identify, while you're remembering those memories, try and identify what you feel in this moment, remembering those memories. Just breathe and feel.
Anxiety.
Trust it. Stay with that anxiety. Keep your attention, to the best of your ability, focused on that anxiety and feeling that anxiety. When I say focus, I'm using words to really point towards a skill called feeling. It's, I feel that anxiety. Experiment with that. See if you can feel anxiety. Can you feel it?
I can. I become aware that I want to disassociate.
Yes. This is the thing.
Yeah.
Anxiety is a very uncomfortable feeling, and we have developed so many ways to run away from it. And one of the most common ones that we do is we go into our mind. So a practice and a skill is to take yourself towards the anxiety, so to speak. So I'm going to keep urging you back to the anxiety, and what I'm urging you to do is actually feel the anxiety. Feel anxiety. Breathe and feel anxiety. Keep bringing yourself back into the elephant in the room, which isn't so much the thoughts and memories, it's the uncomfortable feelings of anxiety. And I'm going to ask you, while you're feeling anxiety, what emotion do you feel when you feel anxiety? Just breathe and feel.
Fear.
Excellent. Breathe and feel the fear. Just breathe and feel. What seemed at first to be anxiety, when you look closer, so to speak, when you feel deeply into it, when you feel it, it actually turned out to be fear. Does that sound accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Now breathe and feel the fear. You'll find me going silent. I just want to be with you while you're breathing and feeling the fear. I'm not urging you to go deeper, because once you hit one of those core basic feelings like fear, that's really what's inside the anxiety, is the fear. I'm encouraging you to develop a skill called I can recognize the truth of what I feel, and most important, I can feel what I feel. I can allow who I am in this very moment to be exactly who I am, which is my heart is beating, my intestine is digesting, and I'm feeling fear. So millions of things going on, and one of them in this moment is you've identified a feeling called fear. Just breathe and feel. Just breathe and feel the fear. It's valid, Julie. It's valid. You were a little girl you're remembering a very profound moment when your dad left the house, and usually those things aren't an isolated experience. There's a part that's leaving all the time, or for many people, there is a separation and a divorce. And that's tremendously threatening to a child. It's so upsetting. They love their mother and they love their father. They want their father and mother to be together and be happy, and it's totally disruptive of their entire universe when that's threatened. It's about as scary as things can get. And then you get scared and in the middle of the night, and instead of being able to just run right into the bedroom because it's a wide open safe space and you know the invitation for you is so deep and so strong that you don't even think, you just open the door and run in and jump in their bed. That obviously wasn't the case for you as a little girl. There was some kind of barrier there, probably a non-invitation, probably a distance. Does this make sense, Julie?
Mm-hmm.
And so you had to lie there outside the door, alone. Am I making sense? I don't want to put any ideas into your head. It's only valuable if it's true for you.
No, yeah, it totally makes sense.
So now I'm going to go quiet for a moment and ask you to return to what you feel and feel it. And that's the skill, feeling what you feel, feeling the truth of what you feel in any moment. Just breathe and feel. And tell me what you feel right now.
Well, I felt like in the fear feelings, it was just like this infinite darkness.
Yes.
That's what I was being scared of.
Yes.
And now I feel that infinite darkness, but it feels like a little lighter in energy.
Okay. Well, there's an image there of the infinite darkness, and there's a little lighter, encompass it all. You're uncovering what's taking place at deeper levels in your emotions and your mind. Let's encompass them both, or whatever's going on, really. Just breathe and feel exactly what's there. If your mind wants to leap away, take yourself back. And what am I feeling? Let's play with that infinite darkness image. Trust that. As you get that image of infinite darkness, what emotion do you have associated with that?
It goes back to the anxiousness.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. And now, let's move towards, so to speak, that anxiousness. Breathe and feel. And when you feel anxiousness, what emotion do you feel? I'm really implying that there's something deeper within the generalized feeling of anxiousness. So when you feel anxious, what emotion do you feel? Infinite darkness, anxious.
Yeah, it goes back to just the fear of
Excellent.
being alone.
Excellent. There you go. Fear that you're alone, and you'll be alone. Breathe and feel that one. This is one of the most basic fears in all human beings, that actually I'm alone. It's breathing and feeling. You're telling yourself the truth, and you're allowing the truth of your emotions to be out in the open, so to speak. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And breathe and feel that infinite darkness, that fear of being alone, that sense of being alone. I think this is quite a startling revelation for many of us. And that it seems, even though I'm going to suggest that it's not so, it seems that when we get to the bottom line, we can feel isolated and alone. And we'll be left alone. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And breathe and feel that. There came a point in my life when I was encountering this so frankly and so consistently, and I wasn't sure what to do other than, okay, well, if I'm alone, I'm going to start with being a friend to myself. If I feel friendless and alone in the universe, I'm going to work with that mysterious concept of, well, I'll be the love to my own self.
Mm-hmm.
And really, one of the first acts of love of self is being willing to accept ourselves. And we're all fully skilled and capable of accepting the fun parts and the happy parts. But that's not sufficient to qualify as unconditional love or self-acceptance. But what you're doing now is you're going to the hardest part of self-acceptance. You're going to the parts that are scared and feel alone. And what the act of acceptance is that is liable to be going on for you is that you're allowing exactly what's going on for you, even though it's fear and infinite darkness, images of infinite darkness and fear. You've taken yourself to the bottom line as far as uncomfortable feelings go. Fear is one of those really basic ones. And you're working on developing the muscle to accept yourself unconditionally. Wow. What an amazing thing, because wouldn't this be the very activity that, quote, the universe, end quote, or divine would want you to develop during pregnancy? Want you to expand your ability to love unconditionally, because one thing children really love is unconditional love. And you're having a memory of not having it. I mean, your father, when you're tugging at his leg, he's not thinking about you and the love that you might need in the moment. He's telling you to get off. Or you have a scary experience in the night, and you're looking for love. You're looking for someone to hold you and to tell you it's all right and to put their arms around you, but you can't even make it past the bedroom door because that invitation wasn't there. Am I making sense?
And I guess, like, I've been told memories that I don't actually remember. So how do those affect us? Like, my brother, from a very young age, was kind of classified as like a psychopath, and he ended up killing himself. But he, when I was 9 days old, apparently like came into my room and started pulling my ear like off my head, like it literally was like bleeding, and if someone didn't stop him, like it would have like came off my head. So I don't remember that. I was just told, my mom told me about that.
And sometimes sometimes when someone tells you one of those events, it does trigger the emotional pain, and it gives you yet one more opportunity to really work with it. But the greatest thing about healing is a very natural process is going to occur anyway. And at the right moment, if it's right, you'll remember what really matters to you. But here we can say about pregnancy is it seems to be this university, if I make leaps and bounds to teach you a little more about unconditional love, beginning with yourself. So what does it do? It delivers up anxiety. And if you really learn what anxiety has to teach you, you will be flexing the muscle and developing the muscle of learning how to accept yourself for exactly what's going on. Because if your child gets up in the night afraid, and there's a decent likelihood they will sometime, they'll want to run to you, and they won't want you to say, well, you're obviously terrified, go back to your room. I don't want to, if you can't get over this fear, you're not going to ever be able to be a good adult. So you go back and you go handle that fear in your room. That's choice A that a mom could say. Or a mom could say, come here, honey, you're scared. Why don't you just sit in my lap and you continue crying. I'm just going to hold you. We all come to earth with fear. I'm just going to hold you. You go ahead and cry. Which one of those two choices was that child like to have happen?
A loving choice.
Yes. Yeah. And yet, the degree that you can actually provide that is the degree to which you yourself are not intimidated by a very frightened, screaming child, because you know that fear is possible, because you're a being who's seen your own fear and done the right thing. You've learned how to do the right thing. You've learned how to accept your own fear for exactly what it is. So that loving choice, that child would feel free. It may scream louder, but it may cry louder. But if you just have your arms around it and you say, good going, honey, this is great, that what's going to happen is that you're going to notice pretty quick that that child's going to start feeling better. And then feeling so much better, they'll probably get off your lap and start playing, because they're that flexible and that resilient. Am I making sense?
Totally.
And yet, in order to grant the fullness of that safety, it's so beneficial to have that safety with ourselves that it doesn't matter what uncomfortable feeling we have, so long as we can work with it in a safe way. And I suggest that this is a safe way, You're telling yourself the truth about it and you're feeling it. You're not running screaming out into the streets. You're not in the middle of a supermarket screaming your head off in fear and saying to people, pardon me, I just have to let go of some fear in the supermarket here, screaming at the top of your lungs. No, you're dealing with it within your own self, giving yourself exactly what you need, unconditional love, the action of which in this case is acceptance. You're accepting the fear for exactly what it is. That's the skill, that's the muscle. And I was saying that, no surprise to me that pregnancy, which is the Olympics, preparing for the Ultra Olympics called raising a child, and the ultra love and joy, oh my God, the love, oh my goodness. And you'll be a different mother than maybe your mother was able to bring to you as a child. But at any rate, I'm going to go silent for another minute. I want you to pull that skill back and try and identify what the truth is of what you feel right now, no matter what that is. Have the freedom and the willingness to feel exactly what you're feeling, no matter what that is. What do you feel?
I still feel anxiety, but I don't feel as much of the fear behind it.
So let's focus in on.
Feel that.
Let's focus in on the anxiety that's still there. Breathe and feel the anxiety. It's all valid, Julie. It's a whole new universe of what are these uncomfortable feelings, and gosh, if I can heal them, I'd be so much more free. Breathing and feeling anxiety. When you feel anxiety, what emotion do you feel?
Sadness.
Trust it. That's one of those bottom line feelings like fear. Just breathe and feel the sadness. Just trust it. Breathing and feeling the sadness. What do you feel? I'm just checking in.
Yeah, maybe remorse.
Remorse. Remorse has a very specific meaning. What, can you tell me what you're feeling? Define the remorse to me.
Well, now that I'm having my own child, I lost both my brothers to one 10-year and one 15-year serious drug addiction.
Yeah.
And so I feel the fear and the anxiety, that's kind of like, I could lose my child to the darkness fear, and then the remorse of we really lost, it seems like we lost from my point of view in this moment, an opportunity to really love as a family.
Yes.
And heal.
Yeah. Remorse is unreversible. Something uncomfortable and awful happened, and there's no way to get it back. You can't reach back into the past and make it different. When you feel remorse, try and identify what specific emotion you're feeling.
It's actually hatred.
Trust it. Trust it. Breathe and feel hatred. And when you feel hatred, what emotion are you feeling?
Anger.
Breathe and feel the anger. You're at the bottom again. Fear, sadness, anger. There's nothing underneath that. Just breathe and feel that anger. Welcome to the before this day hidden warehouse of stuffed feelings that Julie, like so many millions and millions of people, never were given the love, the guidance, the skills, the tools to deal with the hard parts of life. And my goodness gracious, 2 brothers, it must have been quite a household for them to feel that bad about themselves and life. And you grew up in that household.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the residual. So breathing and feeling, what do you feel right now?
I think like a softening of the anger.
Yeah. Trust that softening. This is developing the skill of being able to recognize what we feel and actually feel it. And if I have this right, you correct me if not. You're feeling simultaneously softness and breathing and feeling. What I'd like to do today is introduce you to this practice where you honor and respect and identify exactly what's going on for you. Exactly. Just like you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done more than that. You made it all the way to the bottom. Inside every anxiety, that's sort of a diffuse and unusual 20th century word that's like depression. It's like, what do these actually mean? Well, if you feel your way into anxiety or feel your way into depression, there's a bottom line. And you made it all the way to the bottom 3 different times. You got to fear. There's nothing underneath fear. It's a very primitive, primal, core emotion. You got to anger. Very, very primal. There's nothing underneath anger. It started with hatred, but as you penetrated it deeper, you found it to be anger, and you got to sadness. Nothing underneath that. You've entered the world of unresolved, unhealed feelings within your own being, and this is exactly what they need. They need unconditional love. They need acceptance. And that's what you're doing. That's the practice you're doing. And the more of this you do, life gets easier and easier and easier, and the better mom you get to be. So you're in Olympic training, but you didn't know it. It's just all Olympics. But pregnancy is so meaningful that it's going to be the university for some wonderful skills that if you get them, you'll just be happier and you'll be a better mom.
Mm-hmm.
It's that big.
Thank you.
It's that big. The all of creation is designed that amazingly. And what does this seem like to you, though? I mean, I've said all this stuff. What do you feel right now?
Yeah, I feel like the past few weeks the anxiety has gotten so bad that it's kind of like, hello, you're supposed to learn this. You're supposed to learn to do this for yourself,
Yeah.
so that you can hold the space for your child.
You got it.
But
And what do you feel right now? Let me ask you what you feel right now.
I feel connected to darkness in a more peaceful way right now.
And
I
that's a
feel
key
like
word.
a never-ending.
That's exactly what you did.
What?
That's exactly what you did. You connected
Yeah.
to what was actually going on.
Yeah.
And there is a feeling of connection, and what emotion do you feel when you feel that connection with the darkness?
I don't know if surrender is an emotion, but it's like a surrendered state.
Yes,
where
and
it's like an exhale.
when you let's work with the term surrender. When you feel surrender, what emotion do you feel?
I guess peacefulness.
Yes, and that is your soul.
Stillness.
You are
That's
feeling you were feeling your soul. Now, soul is a word. It's not as big as the actual what a soul is, but that's what we feel. When we feel our soul, when we connect with ourselves so deeply that we feel the deepest part in us, we feel peace and joy and stillness.
Mm-hmm.
So you went beyond the surface ruffles of the anxiety. You kept on moving towards it and feeling it and accepting it, and you wind up in stillness. And that's who you are. That's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
When we feel our real self, we feel peace and joy and love and stillness.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel so honored by being able to speak with you today. And you've got a high level of ability. And if you can at all manage it, do the practice so that you develop the skill of being able to identify exactly what's going on inside yourself and connect with it. And what that actually means is you feel it, because that's the hard part, is feeling the uncomfortable feelings. And if you feel them and you allow them to be what they are, you are connecting up with the truth of who you are, part of it in the moment, and they melt. And you'll gain access to the stillness.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. David.
Thank you, Julie.
It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Yes, you too. Hasta luego.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. My. I Wonder Doctor Live, working with the emotions and the mind. We welcome you every week on Thursdays at 2 o'clock. And the call-in number is 888-502-8886. And you can also go to I Wonder Doctor and ask the doc if you've got a situation. And this is a wonderful time to be able to actually do what we were able to do with Julie, is talk in person together. So until next time, I'm Dr. David Rosensweet. Thank you.